Hello everyone, it's Amy and welcome back for another Journaling on a Budget memory lane. So today we're going to continue working on the construction of our lap book, and we had done the spine and it is now completely dry, so it opens and shuts nicely. You have to make sure that you give it a chance to dry, and so it opens up like this. And so now we need to do our center spine where we're going to put our journal. So I did already go ahead and just cut a piece of cardboard and wrapped a page out of the book around the cardboard. And that's going to fit in here. And I measured it exactly so that it would fit nicely, not thinking that when the book closes, it's going to put a lot of pressure on it. It actually is not the correct size. It needs to be a little bit smaller on each edge so that when this book folds up like this, it can fold up against that back spine like that, because when you put this in here, and then when you try and fold that up, this lifts it up too much. It doesn't fit. So I need to cut this down a little bit. And even though I had already wrapped it around each side, I'm just going to decide to cut. I think I'm going to cut off this side because here you can still see the greatest show on earth a little bit. So I think we'll trim this down, and I'm going to draw a line because I know darn well what I will do is cut it very crooked. And I want it to be about the width of two of the book spines so that I've got this much space on each side of that piece. So that is about 1/8 of an inch. So I need 2/8 of an inch, which is 1/4 of an inch I need to take off. And if it's a little bit small, it's better than it being too large and binding up the covers of your book. So I'm just going to make 3 marks so that I know my line will be straight. And I'm just trying to find a spot on the picture that is light colored enough to be able to see my mark. And then we'll just draw a line on there. Whoops. You know, sometimes you just have those days where you can't get things lined up. There we go. So there we go. And I'm just going to cut it off right there. Now my cardboard is a little bit longer than the page. The page is not as tall as the book because, you know, books have that little bit of an edge all the way around. So I put all of the extra cardboard at the top. I could have centered my picture, but then I would have had to decide what to do with the top and the bottom. So I figured I can decide to do something with that later. And this cardboard is just cardboard out of a, I'm not even sure exactly what it's out of. It had holes in it. You'll see a piece of it in a minute. Came out of some kind of a binder, but it's not real thick. It's pretty much about the thickness, maybe a little bit thicker maybe than a cereal box. Okay, so now when we lay this down in here, we now have a little bit of a gap on each side. It's hard to see because the it all kind of looks white, but so that is where we are going to put this. This is an extra reinforcement. We've got our fabric, we've got our back spine. This is going to reinforce it, and also this is going to hold our pages for our journal. So I have to decide, do I want the journal right in the middle? Do I want to put it towards the bottom? I think I pretty much want it around the middle. So I'm going to just go ahead, and this is called a Silent Setter by Provo Craft. I really do like this. It's a hole punch basically, but if you don't have a large hole punch, these work really well to cut. Now, I suppose I need to decide what size what size eyelet I'm going to put in there, so I'll know what size hole. But yeah, these work really well, and they don't make a lot of noise. So let's see. I kind of like these ones. And do I kind of want it in red or orange? Whoops. Well, I think I like the red. Red is not necessarily my color, but it really does seem to go very nicely with all of that. So we're going to put that in there. So I need a hole that is big enough to fit this part of my eyelet in. And so that hole is going to be, I believe, the medium size hole. I'm just going to kind of hold this up here and see. And yep, I think that that's going to be the size hole we need. If not, I can come back in and use the biggest one, but I don't want it to be loose. I do think the big one is just going to be, well, no, actually, that just fits on there, which means my hole will be that big, and I need this to slide inside of it just like that. So I am going to use the biggest one. And this comes with 3 sizes, and then also this is what you use to push down the back of your eyelet. So we are going to move the book out of the way so that we don't ruin it. Oops, and the pages too. And it comes with a little pad here. Whoops. Now, I want my... We moved the book out of the way, but we obviously need this to put holes in. I want to go ahead and have the holes be about in the middle and about the same distance from top to bottom. I do need to make sure that it's they're at least far enough apart to hold this. And I think I'm just going to line it up with the white line here at the bottom. I think I like that, even though that still leaves us a little bit more at the top than at the bottom. That's where I'm going to put the first one. And we're going to measure how wide is this. So it is now just over 1.5 inches. So I need 3/4 of an inch. 3/4 of an inch and about 1/16. So I'm going to put my first hole right there. And so then you just take this with the cutter portion and you just put that cutter portion right on where you want your hole. And then you just kind of twist it back and forth. And that cutter section is really sharp. And so it will cut through the cardboard and the paper. Okay, so we're almost through. And again, just giving it a twist, and there we go. We're all the way through. Alrighty, so then this one is going to go here, and the next one, because we're going to have elastic cord coming out of there, so our book will only go that, or our paper pages will only go that far. And so the next one is going to need to be in, I'm going to put it just a little bit higher. I want it right in that area as far as height goes, and then we'll just measure 3/4 of an inch. So 3/4 of an inch plus 1/16, it's going to be right along the edge of this L here. Right at that, the height that we made right there. So we're just going to come over here. Center it right there. And just make sure that's right. Okay, so the center of that hole is about 3/4, and from down here, the center of that hole is a little bit over 3/4. So I'm going to move it over just a little bit. And if they're not perfect, that's totally okay. Nothing handmade is totally perfect, and I don't care how much of a perfectionist you are. I am a perfectionist myself. I used to be, and I really have learned that that is not... I kind of messed it up because I moved it. It's not the way to be. It's not the way to enjoy your creating. Is that all the way through? Yes. Okay. So that's going to go right on there. And that did kind of mess up my paper a little bit. But that's okay because my brad covered it. I just have, there it is. Here's our other one. So now what we're going to do is, again, we're going to put it on the pad. We're going to put the eyelet in there, turn it over. Since we used the largest cutter, we're now going to take the largest presser because it has a little bit of a dent here, or a part that sticks out that fits into the hole of your eyelet. And then that is what's going to press down. Now, some eyelets are very hard to press down. So you really want to put some weight behind it. So, and that one is pressed down, but I want it to be pressed a little bit more. So I'm going to go ahead and do it again. So there we go. Now we have that in there nicely. And we'll put this one in here. And then before we glue it in the book, we have to remember to put our elastic there. Check on that one. So it still needs a little bit more. There we go. And there we go. Now, there are, you know, you've got your big bites and crocodiles and all that kind of thing that does the same type thing. But I do like this one. Also, I do have that, I think it's the big bite or the crocodile, I don't know what it is, that actually does the same thing. And I do have one of those, but I just like to use this most of the time. So I just have some round elastic cord here. And I'm going to put this through. And it's pretty good. If it was super, super thin, or if it didn't, you know, feel like it was a good elastic, you could go ahead and put it through twice, just to give you a little bit of extra. Okay, so I'm just going to cut it with some extra. And I really don't want a big bump behind here. So I really think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, I need to put this one through this hole. So now we're through both holes. I think I'm just going to kind of wrap them around each other. Instead of a great big knot and doing it twice, I think I'm just going to do it like this. And then put my, I'll put the glue on it first. And I am going to use the Fabri-Tac to hold it because it grabs so quickly once you get it to the bottom of the bottle. Excuse me. I don't keep my Fabri-Tac upside down because I find that then when I take the top off of it, it just like comes rushing right out way more than you want it to. So I'm going to put this right down the center to grab a hold of those. I'm going to put some on the other side of the eyelet too. And then just give those a little bit of a wrap. And a little bit of a pull and push them right down into that Fabri-Tac. Okay, and hopefully that will hold it nicely. While we put the tacky glue on the outside, because I trust it better to continue to last for a really long time on my paper. Not that there's anything wrong with the Fabri-Tac, but you know, if you've got both of them on there, then you're just doubly safe, because if one of them gets old after a while, the other one maybe won't. There we go. And now we're going to center this, making sure we've got it right side up. Line it up with the top and the bottom. It's not super tight. Do I want to try and tighten it just a little bit? I might. I'm going to put a little bit more of the Fabri-Tac on there. Nice thing about the tacky glue is it does not dry too fast. And the bad thing about the tacky glue is it does not dry too fast. So sometimes there's just, you know, different things you need for your projects that work a little better. But if you do not have them, you just wait a little longer for the tacky glue to dry. And I say the tacky glue because the tacky glue is the cheaper of the two. And it does a lot more. This is not completely wrapped around each other anymore, so I'm going to just put it back on this side. I'm just going to kind of hold it there. And then I think I'll put just a little bit of Fabri-Tac on top of it. Like that. Lining it up with the top and the bottom, and remembering to center it between the covers so that the covers will open and shut. Okay, there we go. Give it a good press. I do want to, before I let it dry all the way, I do want to make sure, well, there. Make sure I have enough room here for it to close. Yes, that's good. Okay. Now I need to think about what I want to set on top of this, because I think what I really, really want to do is I want to set something on here that this cardboard is a touch lower than these edges. So I don't want to go from this back cover to this back cover and there's nothing to hold this down because it's going straight across. So is that too tall? No. Okay. So I need to think. I got it. There we go. All right, here. This is what I cut off, so that will give me a little bit more height. I make it as long as that. I'm going to put this right here. And then I have another piece here that I'll just cut a strip off of. Actually, I'll cut a couple of strips. And I'm going to put a piece of parchment on here. I want to be able to see through it. That was 2 layered. That was folded over, so I want to be able to see through it. So I ripped it in half so that I can make sure that I put this where I want it. Now this is going to make that cardboard about as tall as the book board there, so that when I set a heavy book on top of it, it is going to Now, a heavy book. I'm going to move this over. Whoops. Make room for it. I'm going to move it over and put the book on top of it over here. Because we want to make sure that gets a chance to dry. A big heavy atlas that I'm going to set right on top. And then just set a few things on top of that. Okay, so now that is going to give us a spot to put our journal into, and we'll be able to put it in and take it out. Now, we're not going to put it in yet because it's drying, and also because we want to make a little cover for our journal that we'll be able to use over and over and just refill the papers in it. So now we also wanted to make, I wanted to make a little box to put inside the book to hold a pen or a pencil. And so I have, let me see here. Oh, I already have one made, and this was just out of, this was the right width to put inside my book, and it was a plaque that I had bought, so that's what I used, but I had to open it all up to make the box anyway, so you don't have to have something like that. It just happened to be the right width, and, you know, so I used it, but I built this little box to go on one side. Now we've got one to go on the other side. And so I'm going to give you the measurements for my book. The spine of the book, where the book's closed together, the depth of the back and the front cover of each of those books is about 1 inch less the 1/4 of an inch, so about 3/4 of an inch thick. So, and this is the width of my book from here to here. So the thing is I'm going to tell you, like, I'll give you the measurements for this, but this is not necessarily going to be right for your book. Okay, so this is 8 inches long because my book is 8 inches wide. So we're going to cut a piece of cardboard as wide as our book is from the inside of your spine to where your book is going to, where your book closes at. So if your book is 10 inches wide, make it 10 inches wide. And actually, I lied. My book is 7 inches wide. Yeah, my book is 7 inches wide. So, however wide your book is, plus a 1/2 inch, okay, on each side. So my book is 7 inches wide. I made this 8 inches wide. If your book is 8 inches wide, make this 9 inches wide. The width of your book plus 1 inch for how wide you're going to make it. Then you have to decide how tall do you want your little box to be. I made this box 1.5 inches tall. We also have to remember that we have to have the bottom of the box. So the bottom of the box is approximately 3/4 of an inch. So we have 1.5 plus 3/4 plus 1.5 plus 3/4 plus a little bit of a lip. So if you want your box to be 1.5 inches tall and your book is 3/4 of an inch, you're going to add however tall you want it twice, whatever the depth of your book is. This is the book. This is the amount of space inside my 2 covers. That's 3/4 of an inch. Okay, so you've got the tallness of your book, the depth of your book. If you picked a book that had a 2-inch spine on it, then it would be however tall you want it, plus a 2-inch spine, plus however tall you want it, plus the 2-inch spine, and then just a little bit. I believe I did about a 1/2 inch or 3/4 of an inch for a closing flap, 1/2 inch. So it's height plus thickness or width plus width plus a 1/2 inch flap. It is the length of your book plus an inch, so that you've got something to fold in on each side. If you have a really wide spine, if you're going to do a 2-inch spine, then you need this flap to be almost as big as that, so that when you fold them over, you'll be able to glue them together. So this is really pretty much the width of your, the depth of your book. So that's how you're going to do it. So for me, it was 1 1/2 plus 1 1/2 plus 3/4 plus 3/4 plus a 1/2. So that should be 3, 4 1/2. It should be about 5 inches. It's 4 3/4. So 1 1/2 is that 1 1/2. We've got, it's not quite 1 1/2, and we've got all of our folds in here too. So that's how you're going to do it. Then you are going to fold it. You're going to cut a piece that's that big. And then you're going to say, okay, this is supposed to be 1 1/2. Stick something, measure it, stick something on there that's hard, and fold it up against your hardness. Then measure the bottom of your box, go across, measure that, hold your ruler there, and fold it up. Measure to the first part of your top flap, hold it there, and fold it up. And then measure to the part that you want to tuck in, hold it there, and fold it up. Then come in, and if you've got a 2-inch, if you've added 2 inches because you've got a 2-inch spine for your extra flaps, go to where your flaps are going to be and fold it up. Now that's going to be a solid piece of cardboard. Come on this side to where your flaps are going to be and fold that up. Okay, so then what you're going to do is you'll have a square piece of cardboard with all of these folds in it. What you're going to do is you're going to go, this is the front of your box, this is the bottom of your box, so you're going to come in to make this little tab. You got the front, the back, and the bottom, and you are just going to come in a little bit here, and a little bit here, a little bit here, and a little bit here, and that's going to make this little flap for you. It's also going to make this flap. This one is going to go all the way to the top, so you're going to find your top fold, and you're going to cut it right there, and then just cut it right straight down. So now you've made this flap. Then you're going to go do the same thing on the other side. The bottom of your box, top, or the front, the back, and the bottom, and you're just going to go in, and you're just going to trim those. Then you're going to find the top of your box, cut that off, and cut it off here. Now this will be straight, so I cut a little angle on it, on the fold-in flap. Here's the top of my box, and then here's the fold-in flap. I cut a little angle just so it's easier to tuck in. And then you're just going to, I like to put my little flap so it's not in the way between my other two flaps. So I'm just going to fold this up, fold this in, fold this over, and I've made my little box. We're going to put glue on that. Whoops. It helps if you take the top off. Put glue. You've got your little flap. You do want to put a little bit of glue on your little flap also. Fold your little flap in, and then fold your front flap back. I like to do the front flap towards the back so that you don't see this part of it in the front of your, when you open up your journal. And then any kind of a little clip, little clips like this. I believe I got these at the Dollar Tree. Just put that in there to hold it together. You can even use a clothespin. I'm going to hold the top flap, the top of the box back a little bit to get it out of my way. Glue that. And put glue on the little flap. fold them together and put a clip on it. Like I said, I think I got these at the Dollar Tree, but I've had them for a really long time, so I'm not positive. So there is our little box that we're going to be able to take our pen and put our pen in there to store it. And it is long enough for our pen. And I know for sure I got these at the Dollar Tree, so you can use these too. Or like I said, even just a clothespin, even a paper clip. You can put a paper clip on there. So we're just going to give that time now to dry. I do have to say that when you glue things, especially something that's utilitarian like this, that you're going to be shutting it, opening and shutting and everything, you really should let it dry overnight. It's just the best way to let things, even like the spine that we just did, all of these types of things should be left to dry overnight because they'll just be that much stronger when you go to use it then. So do your best to be patient and try and think of other things that you need to do. Maybe make some tags or something that you might want for your journal. So now we have our front and our back box. Now, in the front of our journal, remember I saved the pages for the front and the back of the journal. So I glued them to cardboard because that's going to go back in the book. And it's just a piece of paper. So I wanted it to be solid because our map is going to be glued to this. But the one thing that I forgot was our book is this big. Okay. And we're going to put our little box in our book. And so this would be possibly too long. I made it short enough that the box would fit in there, and it would just come over the top of the box. Now, I'm not sure where I might not have had to do that, but that's the way I did it. So, because I didn't want this to interfere with our box, so I glued it. I cut it the size of my box shorter than my book, glued it, put it under something heavy, and let it sit overnight. Actually, I let it sit a few days, truthfully. So I'm just going to cut this out because it's going to go in the front of our book. So this will help us with our front cover. Finishing up our front cover. So now we've got this that we're going to glue in there, and we want to glue our map to this. So we have our map, and let's say this is the cover of our book because we have it over there drying. That's going to be the hardest part, is with all the drying time, making sure that I can explain well enough. So this is going to be glued in so that it shuts against our cover. So when it opens up, we'll have the cover over here, and then we'll have this part, then we'll have our spine, and then we'll have the other whole book on the other side. So this is where our map's going to go. We have to decide. Okay, this opens up like this. How do we want the map to stay in here? Do we want it to be attach the town, and then it will open this way? Or do we want to attach it by the farm, and then it will open this way? And I think I want to attach it at the farm because we still have more book over there, so it will be more over top of the book than if we open it the other way. So I think we're going to attach it just like this. And I am going to attach it right at the edge just so that this kind of lines up with the other Barnum and Bailey. And I will put just a little bit of, no, I don't want this at all. I don't know why I'm even thinking that. I want the tacky glue. And I don't want to do it super, super thick because it's already wrinkly because we tea dyed it and it's been inked and everything. And then the only thing is I want to make sure that I get that glue all the way out to the edges. And then you can check when you're done, and after it's dry, make sure that you did get it out to the edges real well. And if not, go back in and just touch it up a little bit. But I do like to smooth my glue down so that it doesn't wind up all lumpy and bumpy once I put it in. I'm going to leave the whole thing shut while I line it up. Maybe leaving just a little bit along the edge over here. And I need to bring it down a little bit. Like that. Okay, that looks good. Then I want to just smooth it down with a credit card, smooth it down with a piece of cardboard, and do it carefully so that you don't rip your paper. But I just want to make sure that we've got good contact. And there we go. So now we have the inside of our front page. So this is going to be on the front cover of our lap book, and we're going to bring it back over here and see how it's doing. Okay, and I will be putting this right back over there to dry as soon as I get off the video. Might even have to put a little bit more glue underneath if it keeps lifting up, because it's lifting up a little bit. And sometimes those things will happen. It's lifting up because we have that string underneath. So maybe I should have kind of taken my cardboard piece and just kind of went like this a little bit to just kind of break that cardboard. I'm just going like this, you know, just kind of bending it like this. And maybe I should have done that before I put that on there. Even though it wouldn't necessarily stay rounded, it would help these outside edges stay in contact with the bottom better. So, but now we have that. We have that piece to put our journal in. Which I don't know what, and here it is. No, that's not it. But that's what that's for. And now we have our portion here that we have that's going to hold our map, and we'll decide how we'll decorate this later. We have our little box that is going to attach right on this front cover, just like that, so that it opens up. And that's why I made this shorter, because of the box. And like I said, yeah, it really would need to be, because otherwise this sits flat on our front cover. This is getting glued to our front cover. So if I did not cut that off, once I attached this and I went to put this on here, it would either be on there, which I really don't want that to happen, or we would, you know, well, that's where it would be, is right on there. It wouldn't be glued to the cover. So we do need to make that page as short as whatever height we made our box. So, and now we have, so when we open up our book like that, this will be closed. We'll open this up over here, and then our map will open up like this. And then that can goes there, and that will go there. And then what we are going to do next time is we are going to do a blind signature or stitching. I'm not sure what they call that. Blind stitch, maybe. We're going to make it so that our signatures, remember we've got a signature for each side. Our signatures are going to go in here. And I think what I've decided is I cut a piece for the spine. And that's not it. Here it is. I cut a piece of cardboard for the spine. Now, while we were away, I don't believe I did this when you were here. I put a piece of fabric on each one of the spines. So I have fabric there, and I have fabric over here, just to reinforce them. So, and then what we're going to do, I think we have the two signatures for the map, and we have the map in the front of the book right here. I'm thinking about taking both of the signatures and putting them both right in here. And the reason I'm thinking that is because then in the other side of our lap book, we can do lots of flips and the types of things that you put in lap books versus putting pages on this side in this part of the book and putting these pages over in this part of the book. But then because we have regular pages, they won't have as many flips and everything as what you can do in a, normally in a lap book. So we're going to put both of these in the front. So these will be here. And then that will be there. We'll close up like that. So that will be the front of our book. And we are going to attach those in there. On the next video, we'll be getting these into the book. And we'll be putting our, our boxes in the book. And we will put the front and back covers into the book. And I think I've decided that I'm going to put it in with the clear tape, with this type of clear tape. To me, I think that's going to be the most sturdy. So I think that what we'll do is we will take this and it's going to go in there like that. And I think I'm going to put it on with clear tape. And then that will shut like this. And clear tape on the back also. So I'm going to put the, I'll put the other book page on the back and cut the cardboard like this, which actually I think I might have already done that. Nope, I guess not. So, and then when we come back next time, we will put this in and we will put our signatures in and we will put our boxes in once they're dry. Right now I'm going to take this and I'm going to put a piece of parchment right in here and put it inside of a heavy book. And I'm going to double check my glue on this one. Yep, it definitely, I'm going to put some glue under here and I'm going to put something that will press and hold that down and put a heavy book on top of this. And I'm going to let them sit overnight and then I will be back to start the next part of this. Thank you very much for stopping by. Leave a thumbs up if you liked the video. If you hit the bell, you'll know every time I put up a video. And I really do appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for stopping by, and I hope that you all have an outstanding day. Bye-bye.